Very good morning, students. This is Professor KV here. Once again, I am here to teach you the concept of programmed learning instruction, especially which is the part of APSS-1 English methodology for 4th semester B.Ed students. Of course, we can say that the programmed learning is the most appropriate example of the latest concept of instructional technology. So it's actually educationally innovation and auto instructional device. It is not only the technique of for especially effective learning, but also a very successful mechanism of feedback device for the modification of any teacher in the classroom. The programmed learning, actually it has arrived on the educational scene mainly due to the laboratory experiments of especially Professor B.F. Skinner. So prior to Skinner, the concept of conditioning as presented by Pavlov and even Watson, and even the law of affective, especially for formulated by the Thorndike, are main historical links in the developing chain of the important events. So the procedure of the shaping behavior as developed by Skinner called as operation conditioning, and this family finally becomes the basis of the programmed learning technology. So now it has become the very established form of technology of teaching nowadays. According to Professor Gagne, say the programmed learning consists of making teaching models which take into account of initial and even terminal response of the student, so which are graded in accordance with the detailed schedule and even permit intermediate assessment for the for the strategies employed. There are three keywords especially for this definition. I just mainly say that according to the especially this view, we can say that there are three keywords in the definition. I am just prescribing, I am having this sheet now. The accounting of the initial and the terminal response of the learner, and the second one is called the gradation of the teaching models, and the third one is called evaluation of the instructional strategies used for shaping of terminal behavior. So that's actually, it may be seen the programmed learning has the very following important ingredients. The first one is called the terminal behavior is presented step by step using the principle of successive approximation, and second one is called at least every step the learner has to make a response, and the third one is called the response of the learner is reinforced by the knowledge of result. So from our discussion we can say that it may be noted that the programmed learning as its practices breaking the very down of a body subject matter, and it is to constitute elements and even requiring the pupil just to matter one step before proceeding to the next. It all allows for more pupils' involvement in the learning process. So since it's a self-institutional device, actually it is mostly individualized, and maybe it is the technique learning is more rapid as well as interesting. So that's why it's claimed that it is detected very specific objectives. So basic concept of programmed learning. So what are those? So programmed learning is especially based on certain basic concepts which have been derived from the experimental works of operant conditioning. So these are the follows like stimuli and responses, the transfer of stimulus control, and the third one is called prompting, fourth one gradual progression, and the fifth one is reinforcement, and seventh one is called extinction, and the eighth one is called concept of formation, ninth one is called successive approximation, and the 10th one is called a frame of Diddle, and the 11th one is called operant span, 12th one is called terminal behavior. So let me discuss one by one. So the first one, just what I told earlier, stimuli and response. A stimulus is that aspect of an environment which guides or controls the behavior of any individual. It may condition event like what or change in environment of any individual which process a changing behavior. For example, a question is asked by a teacher and it is a very familiar stimulus in the classroom teaching. So a response is a part of or a change in the part of behavior. So the example response is the answer. So given by the student when actually faced with the question. And when we are discussing about the second one is transfer of stimuli control. When especially student or a learner responses from the stimuli of initial behavior, so get transferred to the appropriate stimuli. So this is called as a transfer of stimulus control. I just told that prompting. A prompt is a supplementary stimulus added to another stimulus, especially for the facilitating an errorless response. That means problemless, you are calling this. There is no error, there is no problem, which is errorless response. So gradual progression is called. It means step presentation, especially step presentation of material in actually a logical sequence, which we are keeping in the logical sequence. So the next one is called reinforcement. Generalization means responding to a similar elements in the different learning situations. So that's called very discrimination is a differentiating between two or more stimuli and making an appropriate response. So extinction, of course we can extinction means weakening of a response when a response occurs and remains unreinforced. The response does not become firmly connected to the stimuli present. And the next one is called concept formation. It is a process of generalization within certain specific limits and even discrimination of one stimulus from another within the limit. That means the limit should be there. So the successive approximation, that called, it means very approaching the terminal behavior in the step-by-step sequence by cumulative effort on the part of the learner. So the 10th one is called a frame or diddle. We are calling just it is a unit or a subject matter which a learner handles at once time. So it has three parts, something stimulus or we are calling stimulus, response and the feedback. In the operating span, just called operating or operant span, it is the number of responses that the student can handle in one frame or in one diddle. The next one is called terminal behavior. The behavior that the student is expected to have acquired at the end of the program sequence is called terminal behavior. So what are the principles of the program learnings? The first one is called the you are calling objective specification. Second one is called small step size. Third one is called over responding. Fourth one is called success or minimal error. Fifth one is called immediate feedback. Sixth one is called logical graded progress. And the seventh last one is called self-pacing. So these are nothing but the principles of the program learning instruction. First one goes objective specification, which means identifying the terminal behavior that actually the learner will be able to perform when he has completed the program. So small step size means which involves dividing the information to the communicated into small units. Overt responding in the sense it means that the pupils must act on each unit of information by means of exercises providing to assimilate it. And the success or minimal error. This means that the error and the failure must be avoided at all costs because they are constructed as obstacles to learning. And the immediate feedback in the sense in order to ensure success and satisfaction, the pupils must know that his action is correct. Sixth one is called logical graded progress. So it implies two things, very relevance of content and even its graded presentation. The seventh one and the final is called self-pacing. So it is used for the program development and validation. Dear students, with this just I conclude this day part of lesson I know that actually this part is a little bit difficult to understand, but actually when we are in our next offline class, I will once again um, just go through in details. Okay, so just you take the same part here, and in my next class once again I bring very new concept. Have a nice time.